Here I am 1,032 episodes in, and Famicom games can still surprise me. In the case of Nakayoshi to Issho, it's because the game went metatextual. Definitely not something I was anticipating. Nakayoshi to Issho happens to be the last Famicom adventure game. A bit of a nebulous genre, but one that I'd define as narratively driven games that don't rely on action or numerical character advancement. When the Famicom started out in 1983, graphical adventures were barely a thing. Most adventure games relied on people entering commands via text. And the first Famicom adventure game, Portopia Renzoku Satsujin Jiken, modified that kind of interface to something menu-driven that would work on the Famicom. It also resulted in a lot of mystery games, and that was by far the dominant subgenre of adventure game on the Famicom. There was still a lot of experimentation, though. We saw alternate settings like science fiction, and different styles of interface, so you weren't just picking commands from a menu forever. Two things really brought a halt to adventure games on the Famicom. The first was the larger storage size for CDs. Years before other genres figured out the advantage of using that, adventure games as a genre shifted their focus heavily over to the PC Engine CD due to the possibility of animated cutscenes and a lot more text. And speaking of a lot more text, visual novels were becoming the dominant subgenre for adventure games in Japan, and the Famicom's limited storage space prevented the use of full Japanese character sets and greatly restricted the amount of text that could be in a game. Even for a genre as simple as adventure games, the Famicom couldn't keep up. The first thing that you have to know about Nakayoshi to Issho is what Nakayoshi is. It's a monthly comics magazine that's targeted at young girls. A lot of popular works came out of it. The most significant one for this game would be Sailor Moon. The game Nakayoshi to Issho is a bit of a crossover title, bringing together several popular characters and series, though none of them really interact with each other. Nakayoshi to Issho is an exceptionally rare game, and that's also made it very expensive. It's another member of the 10,000 Yen Club, the group of games where if you're buying a cartridge-only copy, you can expect to spend at least 10,000 yen. The plot of the game is, well, actually there's 6 plots. The concept is all of the greatest creators from Nakayoshi magazine are having trouble with their latest stories, and so you go and meet each of those comic creators in turn, and you'll even see a little 8-bit portrait of them. The 6 comics that you go into include Kingyo Chuiho, Pocket Park, Mean Mean, Tayo ni Smash, Kurumi to Shichini no Kobita Tachi, and Sailor Moon. If you don't recognize some of those, don't worry. Only 2 of them were ever really successful. Obviously, Sailor Moon is the headliner here, and so they make you do all of the chapters in order, with Sailor Moon being the last chapter. The first chapter is Kingyo Chuiho. The story here is that demons are taking over everyone in town, and they've set up their headquarters at a rival private school. You're given a wand that will let you transform into the main character of the comic, Fujinomiya, who happens to have the ability to speak with animals. You'll explore the town, starting with Fujinomiya's school. You'll hit A to interact with things and talk with people, while Select will bring up your inventory. There's 2 kinds of inventory items you need to be aware of: food that can restore your health or magic, and weapons which you use to attack enemies. Except they're not really weapons, they're just weird things you find laying around. There's also quest items that you'll be able to use and not discard, like the wand to transform yourself. And there are gems that you use in combat that have a distinctive effect. For the most part, you're just going to be running around and picking up the key items to go to the next area. Though there is this pushing block puzzle where you have to get all of the cows into separate pens. When you encounter an enemy, combat begins, and these are always one-on-one affairs. Even if the enemy is a crowd, it's still one-on-one. The way combat works is that you choose an element, and the elements will correspond to the gems that you find or buy. You can also choose to consume some food to restore some of your health or magic, or run away. If you choose an element, then a slot machine begins. And what you get on the slot machine is what you do in combat. So basically you're getting 3 actions, and sometimes if you get multiple symbols, something extra will occur. The fists are physical attacks. You punch or kick them. The gems are magic attacks. They'll use the power of a gem of the corresponding element you have in your inventory, and suck up some of your magic power as part of that. The bags are item attacks. One of the weapons you have in your inventory is selected at random, and its power is used to attack. The smiley faces use your helper character, and usually this won't do very much because your helper characters are mainly there for jokes. But sometimes they'll heal you back to full. Finally, stars can do several things. 1 star means your attacks miss. 2 stars mean you do a much stronger attack. And 3 stars will instantly defeat whoever you're fighting. When you defeat an enemy, there's no experience, you don't level up, but you might get cash sometimes. You can spend cash on additional weapons, food, gems, or go to a hospital where you can pay to fully recover. You can also spend your money at fortune tellers who will give you hints. If you need to save your game, you'll have to locate a phone, and then you'll call the editor of Nakayoshi, and he'll record your progress to one of 3 battery save slots. While Nakayoshi to Issho does have its fans in Japan, it's really known for only 2 things. First, having Sailor Moon in it, and second, being extremely expensive. My feelings on Nakayoshi to Issho is that I'm not sure that there's enough going on here to hold my attention. I really only have about an hour of recording time for each game, but that was enough to clear the first chapter, and I didn't see anything here that was really engaging. You run around and talk to people until you find the correct flags to advance the plot a little bit. There's just not a lot to the game other than that. If you're not familiar with the original comics, then you don't get the thrill of exploring those worlds and meeting your favorite characters. Nakayoshi to Issho is a little primitive, a little basic, definitely intended for a younger audience, but it's also not really awful. It's just something that you probably won't get very excited for.